The credit report. This is a very important tool to know how to analyze when you're screening tenants. A lot of people get hung up on the credit score, right? Okay, they have a 650 credit score, they're good. Not necessarily, right? There could be somebody who has a 300 credit score that is much more qualified than the 650 credit score. And here's a few things you can look at to determine that. Lack of credit. My son is 10 years old. He doesn't have credit. So if you pull a credit report on him, it's gonna be 0, right? Just because a person doesn't have credit doesn't mean they have bad credit, right? So look at the history and the amount of credit that they have. I had one situation where we had a tenant who was applying for a 330 credit score, and the only thing they had on their credit report was an auto loan. They had nothing else but an auto loan. So in theory, that should kind of help boost your credit, but she had, I think, 2 late payments in the 4-year period of the loan schedule that drove her credit down. So a person that has no credit now has an auto loan, but then has late payments, right? So that drove down her credit down to 300. Normally, if you look at just the credit score, you would say no, immediate rejection. But the person was making $9,000 a month and the rent was $2,000 a month. So they had more than enough income to support the rent. They just had this one issue with credit. We approved that tenant. It's not just the credit score that you need to look at. You need to look at the situation of why their credit is low and understand the reasons why it drove down their score, and then determine whether or not they are able to pay the rent based on the data that you have. There's a few things I look for in a credit report that are immediate red flags to me. If you don't pay your utility bill and you have a collection from the utility company, you're a person who's probably not gonna pay your rent. If you don't pay your electricity, you're probably not gonna pay your rent. What else? Child support. If I see, guys, usually dads that have child support in arrears, if you don't take care of your kids, I don't want you. You're not gonna pay your rent if you're not taking care of your own children. So that's a huge red flag. Again, I've had some situations where, it's a messy divorce and, you need to get into kind of the crux of why the child support. If the guy intentionally stopped paying child support because his lawyer advised him to for something, you need to understand why. But in general, a guy who hasn't paid a child support, no, I don't want him. So utility bills, what else? Anything that is cable, well, cable bills not really because it's TV, but utility bills, water bills, auto loans is another thing. If you have your car, I see a lot of repoed cars, like an auto loan that went sour and the car was repossessed. I mean, if you're not gonna make your car payment, then you're not gonna be able to get to work and you're not gonna be able to pay your rent. So these are things you gotta look at. I did have one girl one time who had a repoed car and I was about to reject her, but I called her and I was like, look, you have a repoed car. I think it was like 2 years or 3 years before. It was a divorce situation where the father had bought the car in both of their names and then he stopped paying the loan after the wife had moved out, but then because the guy's car got repoed, she was on title and had guaranteed the loan, her credit took a hit. So once I got down to the details of why that happened, and she begged me, she was like, look, I've been trying to repair my credit for years, it was horrible, and she had nothing else bad on her credit, it was just that, and she made enough money. I took a flyer on her, she was one of the best tenants I've ever had. She never paid late even once. Just because you're seeing it on the credit report doesn't mean it's the truth, so get into the details. Usually if you ask them about it, hey, I saw this on your credit, and they are truthful and tell you, yes, it was a tough year, this happened, blah, 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 blah. Usually they're a person of integrity, so they're gonna be truthful to you later when things go, if things go bad for them. If they deny it, oh, I don't even know what that is. If they pretend like they don't know what it is, that's a red flag, because you got a repoed car on your credit, that's not, that's not, a utility bill that you forgot to pay when you moved away, Another thing is utility bills, I call it a red flag, but hey, sometimes you move and they don't send you the final bill and then you didn't know you owed it and then they just put a collection on your account. So those are things you have to just kind of get to the bottom of. But yeah, they're human. They're a human being. Every human has a story. Every human has struggles. Every human has been through stuff. So as long as you can get to the truth and find out who they are, why things happen to them, there you can get a feel for whether or not they're a good human or not. Obviously they have to have enough money and they have to make enough money to make the rent, but the integrity is important, because when hard times come, which they can and mostly will most of the time, or many times, they'll be the first ones to call you and say, hey, look, I'm gonna be late this month. This happened, I lost my job, but I'm gonna pay on the 12th. And those are the people that I eliminate late fees and I give the most leeway to. The ones that call me before and say, look, shit hit the fan, I cannot pay rent this month, but I'm gonna pay on the 12th. And then they pay on the 12th, like they said. The ones that ghost you and they disappear, and when you call them, they don't pick up the phone, those are the ones that
Would you say that also inspires loyalty?
Of course. Those are the tenants that I want to keep, right? Those are the tenants that I'm going to vouch for when renewal time comes. Those are the tenants that I want.